Hello, Matt. So great to
Good.
see you. How are you today? I'm doing good. Now, I told you before we started recording that I'm having some major allergies, but so my voice is a little bit raspier than normal. So no, for my listeners out there, that's like, what's wrong with her voice? I didn't pick up, and become a chain smoker like overnight.
Yeah, don't do that.
My voice is a little hoarse. No, we don't want to do that. So thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to talk about your business, and I want to hear all about the entrepreneur side of that. But you've got a pretty tragic story in your background. And I want to focus on that just a little bit because, I like to share stories of how people overcome and they persevere when life throws some major curveballs.
Well, first, thanks for having me. I definitely appreciate it. Yeah, I think people show their true strength when they're backed into a corner or they're put into a hard situation. And that's what happened with me. I had owned a more service-based business, very small, one employee. I had to be there every day for it to function. And my daughter has had previously a lot of health conditions. And back in 2019, she wasn't feeling well, and we had to go to the hospital for a checkup, and she was in heart failure. So a couple of days later, they ended up telling us, she needs a transplant is required. And, we never went home. So they told us that information. We went up to ICU, awaited a decision, and a couple of days later got the decision, and then got fortunate enough to be able to be put on the transplant list for eligibility. So, you're dealing with all that. Business wasn't even thought about those few days. It's the least of your worries. She's 100% of your worries. But then, when reality keeps things saying, like, I'm going to be here for a long time. They didn't really give us a time because you don't know. So it was anywhere from 4 months, basically, to a year and a half, 2 years we would be there. And I'd done all the correct things prior. I had my 3 months of savings and stuff like that. But knowing I'm going to be gone a lot longer than that, I knew I had to make a shift and a change.
Okay, so how old was your daughter at the time?
She was 6 and turned 7 when she was in there.
Oh my gosh. I can't, my son is turning 22 in a couple of weeks, a month. But it's every parent's worst nightmare when you bring a baby home from the hospital and then you're raising them and you see other stories, and it's hard not to, worry about things because it's so far out of your control. So
definitely,
and it is, right? So how were they keeping her? She was being kept alive by machines, basically, to keep her heart
after we were there for about 2 months, she went into complete heart failure. So they had to do an open heart surgery to put a mechanical pump in to run her. So she was pretty sedated through a lot of that. And me knowing I need to make a shift and a change, like I had always had interest in e-commerce, but I never really had the time to focus on it and study and learn it. I had some product ideas with like manufacturing stones. So I knew this, I need to make a change. And if I could get an e-commerce business going, it would allow me to continue to work and have income in a situation like this. So go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, do you think that was something, by shifting your focus, because, you're obviously need the income. You could make it a few months, but you've got your daughter in the hospital, a lot going on. Do you think that was what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Was it the, needing to focus and have something like a distraction to keep your sanity, right? So you can be there to support? Or what, you know what I mean? Or was it so what came first,
Yeah.
the chicken or the egg, or was
I
it
mean,
kind of a mixture of both,
you're
right?
there 100% for her, but you're almost trying to keep your mind so busy off of reality, of what really the situation is. And you're sitting in this room, and there's times throughout it where she was sedated, and only awake a few hours a day. So, you're sitting there and it's like I personally needed something to keep my mind busy off of what was going on. And I was so strapped on money wise, not that I was broke, but I stretched every dollar as far as I could because I didn't know the length of time that we were going to be there. So I mean, it was YouTube. I went in there Googling how to sell online, and we got out in 6 months, and I felt like I almost left with a degree in selling online in a sense.
Wow. Wow. So what advice can you give to, first of all, a parent that has this type of, situation in their life? Like, what type of advice can you give to parents to help them stay strong and focused and keep their own sanity,
Yeah.
right? Because that's
Yeah.
so important in order to be the strength in the rock for everyone else.
Like my family is amazing. In every way. I have a pretty large family and I'm very fortunate to them. So, when people reach out to you to talk, whether they're even close to you or not prior to going in, talk to them, and just communicate and I mean, I think it's so different for every scenario. And that was a tough thing, like
Of
meeting
course.
all the other families throughout. And we've had other hospital stays extended, but when you're extended for that long, you almost become family with other families there. And so that's really good is when you go to the lobby or the hotel, or not the hotel, the hospital, like family area, meet and communicate with those families because they're going through a similar situation as well. They're there for the same reasons as well.
Right, right. So let's talk about your business a bit. So you had a personal service business. What type of
Sign
business was that?
company. Yep.
Okay. So, but you didn't do it. It wasn't really e-commerce. So what was it? Why was it that you felt like you had to make a shift to something different?
When I was in there, I created a business plan and I thought, okay, if I can, because I own the manufacturing plant now and everything for our products. So I knew, okay, when I get back, if I can make this work, I knew it wasn't going to create income in there for me then. But moving forward, if something ever like this came up, it would allow me to be away. So, we were there for 6 months. We had a successful heart transplant. Everything went really, really well. And, due to a good hospital and then as well as her strength. I mean, she's amazing. I don't know where she gets her strength from, but it ain't me. So,
well, first of all,
yeah,
that's amazing. And I'm so grateful to hear that everything turned out great. And yes, most children are very resilient. So that's just, thank goodness for that.
She's amazing.
That's really great.
So I knew like, okay, these are the cards I was dealt, but my business doesn't align with what I have going on here, because it allows me to be present. So I left with a business plan of I'm going to create this e-commerce company and hire for all the jobs except for marketing because I liked marketing. I've always liked marketing. And I knew if I can grow it big enough that allows me to just handle the marketing aspect of it and overall ownership. But if something like this happens, that particular job can be done from a computer. So, now we have short little stays of, week or 2 week stays. And it's such a reliever on me because as long as I have my computer, it's really no different than me being in person at our manufacturing facility. So I essentially built a business around my lifestyle, and what was going on.
Now, is that because will she always need
Yeah.
potential care? Was that the driving force here?
Yeah, and even a cold or flu or something can put us there for a couple weeks. So, it's not.
Okay. So is her immune system compromised?
Not anymore. It's turned back on now, but it was for a long time. So, that was another scare because we got out 2019. So I would say, when we got out late 2019, the doctors wanted her to wear a mask, and then for 6 months, and then COVID hits and they require everybody to wear masks. So I'm like, you started the trend. Look, everybody's doing yeah. But, when COVID hit, her immune system was essentially 100% shut off then. So that was a big scare as well. The unknown was the scare.
Of course.
For everybody, exactly.
Everybody.
Yeah. So it was the unknown, the scare.
Yeah.
So I actually hadn't even launched. My birthday's in May, and I was planning on a May launch date for our e-commerce company. But since I took such a hit the prior year in 2019 being gone, made it through the winter and really worked on product development, shipping, stuff like that throughout the winter, I was planning on a May launch date. And then when COVID all of a sudden came about, I couldn't afford to take another hit. So my e-commerce store launched in March then. So I hurry up and just got it going to get started. And I think that was the best thing I do. I think that's one thing, a flaw of mine in a scenario like that is I was trying to get every little aspect of the business perfect prior to launching. So that was stalling the process. And then when I launched, I learned that I didn't, I launched and took the feedback of customers of what they were asking and stuff like that on what we needed to work on.
Well, and also I've heard so often that you just have to start and you'll tweak it along the way. I know. And you know what, Matt? Yeah. I'm kind of like that too, where you want to have everything perfect. I'll get it all perfect. Okay. Let me look at it for a couple more days before I actually put it out there because it's gotta, and it's never going to be perfect,
and
right?
It still isn't after a few years now. So that's what I tell people, that a lot of people, that are wanting to get into business or something, they talk to me. I say, the two things I said, just, build it around your lifestyle and something you like. I mean, I work probably a short day would be 12 hours, but I don't ever feel like I work. I like what I do. So I said, build something you like what you do and just go for it. Like, don't hesitate, just go.
Right. So what was the hardest part about shifting from that personalized service to e-commerce?
Shipping, we sell stone. So trying to, heavy. I'd never really shipped a package prior in my life. So, learning, staying focused really was the main thing, was the toughest part, because I had a lot of jobs to do. We're trying to figure out how to manufacture the stone, sell the stone, shipping, just the behind the scenes system to make it all work and everything connect. And I would get overwhelmed if I really truly thought about what I was doing. So I had to break it down in small jobs and accomplish each little job. And then it wasn't as overwhelming on me. So that was a tough part, because I didn't have money to hire help at the time with any part of that process. So I was trying to figure it all out myself. And that was challenging. So in a way, I keep myself sane instead of thinking about the whole overall picture. I just broke it down in smaller jobs and then accomplished those jobs.
Well, what you just said is actually very brilliant, and it's something that you can apply to any situation.
Everything, yes.
Because stress and overwhelm, they're kind of a story that we're making up in our mind, right? And so, for the listeners out there, what Matt just described is just the ideal scenario is when you feel like you have so many things going on, just one thing at a time. You stay focused on that, what's in front of you, and the overwhelm will go away because you can only control so much at a time.
I feel like I use that strategy in a lot of things now. Like, even for instance, we're redoing our backyard right now. And if I think about the whole project, I'm overwhelmed. But if I just think about the next step, it's not bad. So it's definitely been a huge, just a really good learning experience as well for life.
Well, and you had also just been through something that very few people ever even have to worry about. Right? That their child needs a heart transplant. That's a big deal. So how did you, everything that you just described, you may have learned from the overwhelm you were experiencing while you were in the midst of that ordeal.
I feel like, going through that amount of stress prior made opening a business really not that stressful. I tease with my wife sometime. I says, a normal person's stress level, their breaking point, I feel like is my normal. So,
that's right.
I feel like, when I don't learn to handle that stress, starting a business and all these obstacles wasn't bad. And then especially once you break it into smaller steps.
Well, and when you think about it, you already made it through a scenario that literally was life and death for your baby girl. So anything that you can accomplish after that, that's like a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's all about our mind. It's all about our mindset.
Exactly. And like I said earlier, I couldn't be more proud of her, just how strong she is. And, it was stressful, but I didn't have to get poked with the needles and surgeries and all that. So she showed me what true strength really is.
Well, from one parent to another, I can't even imagine going through something like that. And I feel like I'm a really strong person with thick skin. But when it comes to your children, I'm like the most fiercest mama bear on the planet. Okay. Oh, mess with my kid. You mess with my kid, you're messing with me.
Exactly. That's where your true strength comes out.
But completely. So I really just want to acknowledge your strength and courage and to your wife too. And of course your daughter, because that's really, really significant.
I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. So you created designastone.com. Check out their website, everybody. There are these beautiful stones you can customize. Talk a little bit more about it because you're the marketing
guy. We started out with just name and address stones and just a few simple designs. And that's why I said I didn't have a lot of designs when we first launched. And then we allowed, off email, we made it very easy to access how to contact us on the website so people would contact us. And then we just kind of went off what were the customers asking for and, what was needed. So then we've got around 60 different designs now. Most are name and address stones for people's houses and like welcome stones, more non-personalized as well. And then we also have all of our memorial stone collection as well. And that was something that came about a lot later. Like I didn't really have memorial stones in mind at the time, but we were getting emails every day of people wanting us to create a memorial. So then once,
well, it's a lot prettier than some of the ones that you would see, some of the traditional ones. So I can see why people would.
Yeah,
want
well,
that.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate that. And that's one thing that I would say we never have bad reviews, but occasionally we'll get some, or not even once they've received the product, they're happy with it, but we'll get like emails saying like, price is too expensive, and I take that and accept it because I do use completely insane good products. I will say that. I mean, I sell these stones and I want them to last forever. So in my mind, I would rather have a few emails saying it's too expensive with a bunch of good reviews than a bunch of, bad reviews saying cheap product or faded after a couple of years, stuff like that. So, once I knew that the product would truly last years to come, then I was comfortable going into the memorial stone space. But I really focus a lot on, I handle the marketing and then as well as product development. I want to make sure that we are truly putting out the best product we can. I don't want bad reviews, and I wouldn't want to buy a cheap product, so I don't want somebody to buy a cheap product off me.
Right. All right. Well, that's a perfect segue into, I told you before we started recording, because I didn't want to blindside you, but I want to start talking about just some etiquette, so that our listeners, can learn some etiquette about, how you can respond and things like that. And so, since you were just talking about your reviews, I would love for you to share your thoughts for anybody else who has a similar type product, or or is in a situation where people are leaving reviews that is going to, affect their business or their personal brand, that kind of thing. How do you respond to like a mean review? Like, what would you say? What would you recommend would be the best way to respond to somebody that gave a bad review? Because I feel like that's one of the things, like so many people, like on social media, they just say whatever they think, right? And they put it out there, and then it's like, oh, do you really want to be spreading all that negative juju out there, right? No. So what advice can you give to another business owner that may be struggling with like a bad review?
I mean, that is tough. And I feel like the only time we get is Facebook comments. Now I have two customer service ladies, Leslie and Carla, and the Facebook comments make me want to puke sometimes, just the negativity there. Luckily those can be hid, but anybody that purchases, and then there's an issue. And the only time we ever really have that is breaking issues in shipping. And so what we came up with there is like all of our stones ship within 4 days. But if one is broken in shipping, which happens, I mean, every, once a week we're getting it's like industry standards. Yeah, it's around 2%, and that's where we're at. Yeah. So what we came up with is, if somebody reaches out and says, hey, our stone got broken, and we get the bad review, even if they just leave us a bad review that it came chipped, reach out to that customer and let them know that we're going to get it replaced and we're going to get it fixed. And then when that order comes back in, it automatically goes to the front. So it doesn't have to wait 4 days for their new stone to ship out. If it's early enough in the day, it'll go out that same day or the next day. So like I said, even if they don't reach out, we see the review, we reach out to them, let's get them happy. Even if I have to take a loss, it is worth it to not have that comment or that review on there that say FedEx, the driver threw it down on us. But that's the only time we ever really get bad reviews is on that. And we just make sure, and that's Carla and Leslie know that I'm fine to take a loss as long as they're happy, and we'll be fine. Just get, on any broken one, get it out immediately, do whatever it takes. Because online businesses, I feel anymore are built on reviews. And that's what your customers are going to look at and see. So you want happy customers and happy reviews.
Excellent feedback. And thank you for sharing that. This has been such a great conversation. And again, I just want to, kudos to you, Matt, for being such an amazing father and an amazing entrepreneur, because what you've done is truly remarkable under the circumstances that you were doing it under.
Well, thank you
So
very much. I definitely
that's really
appreciate it. It's been a journey. I'm up to around, I think, 11 employees now, and I feel like it was like yesterday I had nobody. So that's been another cool thing, is being in such a small community and creating a new product and creating new jobs and within the community. So it's been, I love it. I'm here early in the mornings. I don't feel like I'm working all day. I really, really do enjoy it.
That's great. And that's the best advice you could probably give anybody, right? And which you already said, make sure it's something that you really love to do, so you don't feel like it's a job.
No, yeah. I mean,
right?
I feel like with my old sign company, I would get here at 8 in the mornings. Now I'm here like at 5:30 in the mornings, like didn't even require an alarm clock, don't even need as much coffee, ready to go. I'm excited.
Oh my gosh. And that is so key to being successful in life.
Yeah, you got to do what you like, or it is a job.
Right, exactly. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining me today. And is there any last words of advice to give any other fellow entrepreneurs out there?
Just go for it. Just do it.
All right, I love it. All right,
no
thanks,
problem.
Matt.
Thanks for having me.